We're gonna move on from the monorail to the ball bearing monorail, and the way you handle that, if the monorail is on the top, you can just leave it alone. If it's on the bottom of the drawer, then you need to take it off. The only thing you really need to do if it's on the top is just take your drawer roller off. So we'll get that off of there and then we'll move on. Okay, the next thing you have to do is you got to put you some kind of, if there's not one already there, you need to put you some kind of support in the middle of your cabinet back there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do these with the top off, and then we're going to take it all apart and then put it back with the top on, because that's how you're going to be doing it anyway, which is a whole lot easier with the top off. Okay, so we got our supports in there. You just screw them up there best you can. And you want to get the right distance and all that. Now you got to find the center, as we did for the monorail. We got to do the same thing with the ball bearing monorail. And as before, we have to go to the center of the stiles. Don't just go by the center of the cabinet, because then your rail is going to be off. So it's best to go ahead and put it in the center, because it makes it easier to mount the bracket on your drawer itself. Okay, like I said, the center in between, you want to get the center of that, because this frame on this side is overhanging this side 3/4 of an inch. So if you got the center from the inside of the cabinet to the inside of the cabinet, then the center of the monorail is going to move over. In other words, here's the center, and then it's going to move over 3/4 of an inch, which will make it a little bit difficult to mount your guide on the drawer itself. So we're going to go ahead and come from center to center on our frame, and then we're going to mount our monorail in the center. So as you can see, we have 15. Well, we have 15 and a 16th, so we're just going to call it 15. Okay, so 7 1/2. Here we go. Okay, 7 1/2. Oops, mark it this way. Okay, you want to mark that on your frame, as long as you got some kind of mark. Okay, but while your tape is still there, go ahead on the inside, back here into this corner to see what this mark is here in the center, because this is a center mark you got to put on the back of the cabinet, because now we don't have the stile frame back there, the cabinet frame. So really we're adding 3/4 of an inch, so it's going to come up to be 8 1/4. So now we go back to the back, then you're going to come back here and measure over 8 1/4 two places, one down below, then come up several inches, do it again. Okay, so there we got our 8 1/4 twice, and we just need to get a center line, just anything to mark the center line. And you want it as close as you can get it. Okay, now you come down and you need to come from the inside bottom of this cabinet frame down to your center mark, or to the top of your frame. And in this case we have, I'm going to call it 5 3/8. So we're going to call it 5 3/8 inches. You want to do the same thing in the back. Come from here down 5 3/8 inches. So 5 3/8 inches is right there. There's a 5 3/8 inches right there, and that's going to mount right there on that mark. But you're going to come over to the center, and you've got some center holes right here that you can go by to line up to get it in the center. Of course, when you're working inside the cabinet without a top, it's going to be best to mount some kind of block on that center line. Just run you a couple of screws in there just to hold that in place, because you know, as you're working in here, it's going to be really hard. As you can see, this cabinet's pretty small anyway. It's only 15 inches wide. It's going to be real hard to work in there, but it can be done. Anyway, a couple of screws, we're going to do that. We've got our center mark right there. Sometimes with your top overhanging, sometimes hard to get a screw gun or drill gun or whatever in there straight. If you've got one of those 90-degree drills or drill adapter, which I used to have until somebody stole it, but anyway, if you have one, it's going to be a lot better. Okay, get your hole in there. Okay, and there's our screw in there. This is where you're going to have to find out if you got the right screw or not, because you don't want it to hit your drawer rail. So we'll see if we can't slide that on there a little bit. No, it's going to clear, so it's okay. Alright. Our cabinet rail is set from front all the way to the back. Let's screw it in. Now this block back here, you don't even have to take that out. You can just leave it in there if you like. It's not hurting anything. Time to do our drawer.